The arena stretched before them like a metallic cathedral, its curved walls rising 300 meters into the artificial atmosphere of Station Omega-7. Spectators from 17 different species filled the viewing galleries, their various forms of eyes, sensors, and perception organs all focused on the circular platform at the center. This was the Crucible, where disputes between galactic civilizations were settled not through war but through single combat between champions. Ambassador Kethral of the Vorthak hegemony stood at the edge of the platform, her forearms crossed, in what humans might recognize as smugness. Her species had dominated the Crucible for over 2 centuries. Standing nearly 4 meters tall with chitinous armor that could deflect plasma bolts and muscles dense enough to crush titanium, the Vorthak were bred for war. Their champion, Gorthvex the Unbroken, had never lost a match in his 43-year career. "Where is your champion, human?" Kethral's translator rendered her clicking speech into standard galactic. "The match begins in moments." Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Diplomatic Corps checked her chronometer with infuriating calm. "He'll be here." The dispute was straightforward. Enough. Mining rights to the asteroid belt in the Kepler 442 system. The Vorthak claimed it by right of conquest from a previous war. Humanity claimed it by right of first discovery and colonization. Neither side would back down, and according to Galactic Council law, the Crucible would decide. A door slid open at the far end of the arena. The crowd fell silent. What emerged was not what anyone expected. Dr. Marcus Webb, a 67-year-old xenoarchaeologist, with graying hair and a slight paunch, shuffled onto the platform. He wore standard civilian clothing, khakis, a button-down shirt, and comfortable walking shoes. In his hands, he carried an ordinary folding chair from the station's cafeteria. The silence stretched until it became almost physical. Then the eat-you laughter started, first from the Vorthak delegation, then spreading through the galleries like wildfire. Even some humans looked confused. Gorthvex emerged from the opposite entrance, his massive form casting shadows across the platform. Each step rang like thunder. His natural armor gleamed under the arena lights, and his 4 eyes fixed on the small human with what might have been pity. "This is your champion?" Gorthvex's voice was like grinding stone. "I do not wish to kill an elder for sport." Dr. Webb smiled and unfolded his chair with a soft click. "That's very considerate of you." He sat down, adjusting himself until he was comfortable. "Shall we begin?" The referee, a crystalline being from Tau Ceti, announced the rules as they had been, announced for centuries. Combat will continue until one participant yields, is rendered unconscious, or dies. No weapons save those brought by the participants are permitted. Let the Crucible decide. A horn blared. Gorthvex charged immediately, covering the 30-meter distance in seconds. His massive fists came down where Dr. Webb had been sitting, but the chair was empty. Dr. Webb had simply stood up and taken 3 steps to the left. As Gorthvex's momentum carried him forward, the human gently placed the chair directly in the alien's path. The Vorthak champion's legs tangled with the simple aluminum frame. Physics did the rest. Gorthvex, moving at tremendous speed, found his center of gravity suddenly displaced. His massive form pitched forward, armor scraping against the platform's metal surface with a sound like a landslide. He rolled twice before coming to a stop at the arena's edge. The silence was deafening. Gorthvex roared in fury and embarrassment, surging back to his feet. This time he approached more carefully, circling the human who had returned to sitting casually in his chair. "An interesting strategy," the Vorthak growled, "but it will not work twice." "Probably not," Dr. Webb agreed. He stood up again, folding the chair. "Though I notice you're limping slightly on your rear left leg, that's going to affect your balance." It was true. Gorthvex's fall had tweaked something in his leg. Not a serious injury, but enough to throw off his normally perfect coordination. This time, instead of charging, Gorthvex began a series of feints and attacks, trying to corner the human. But Dr. Webb seemed to read his movements like a book. When the alien came in high, the human ducked low. When Gorthvex swept wide, Dr. Webb stepped inside the arc. And always, the chair seemed to be exactly where it would cause the most problems. catching a foot, blocking a grab, or simply occupying space that forced the massive warrior to adjust his approach. Minutes passed, then an hour. Gorthvex, despite his incredible conditioning, was beginning to tire. Dr. Webb, meanwhile, seemed perfectly content to continue their strange dance indefinitely. "This is impossible," Kethril shrieked from the sidelines. "He is doing nothing. This is not combat." Captain Chen smiled. "Check the rules. Combat continues until one participant yields, is unconscious, or dies. Dr. Webb is participating in combat. He's just very good at it." The truth was becoming clear to those who understood warfare. Dr. Webb wasn't trying to win through strength or speed. He was using the most human of strategies: patience, observation, and turning his opponent's advantages into weaknesses. Every time Gorthvex attacked, he expended energy. Every time he missed, he grew more frustrated. Every time he had to adjust for that simple chair, his injured leg got a little worse. And Dr. Webb, sitting calmly between engagements, was learning his opponent's patterns. 2 hours in, Gorthvex made a critical error. Exhausted and angry, he committed fully to a devastating haymaker that would have pulverized a human. Dr. Webb simply sat down. The punch sailed harmlessly over his head, and Gorthvex's own momentum sent him stumbling forward. This time, Dr. Webb didn't even need to place the chair. The Vorthak's injured leg finally gave out, and he crashed to the ground hard enough to crack the platform. He tried to rise. His leg wouldn't hold his weight. Dr. Webb walked over and offered him a bottle of water from his jacket pocket. "You fought well," he said quietly. "There's no shame in yielding." For a long moment, the arena held its breath. Then Gorthvex the Unbroken spoke the words that had never passed his lips. "I yield." The crowd erupted, some in outrage, others in amazement. The Vorthak delegation was already filing protests, but Captain Chen knew they wouldn't stick. The rules had been followed to the letter. As Dr. Webb helped the fallen champion to his feet, Gorthvex looked down at him with something approaching respect. "How?" he asked simply. Dr. Webb smiled and patted the folding chair. "I've been studying your species for 30 years. I knew you were stronger, faster, and tougher than any human. But I also knew you'd never fought anyone who brought furniture." He paused, looking around the arena at the thousands of stunned faces. "That's the thing about humans," he continued. "We don't always fight fair. We fight smart. And sometimes the smartest thing you can do is bring a chair." The mining rights to Kepler 442 went to humanity, and somewhere in the records of Station Omega 7, a note was quietly added to the Crucible regulations about unconventional equipment. Dr. Marcus Webb returned to his quiet life of studying ancient civilizations, but his folding chair was retired to the Terran Diplomatic Corps Museum, with a small plaque that read, "Sometimes the best weapon is the one nobody expects."